भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम ज्ञानंतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशालकयः चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master has opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I pay my humble and respectful obeisances. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, chapter 2, Remembrance of Lord Krishna. So at the end of the first chapter, where we saw Vidura and Uddhava, they meet, and Vidura is inquiring from Uddhava about the welfare of Lord Krishna, his family members, Krishna's family members. Then afterwards he is inquiring about Pandavas, then about Kunti Devi. Then he also laments, saying that I was driven out from the home by Dhritarashtra. But anyway, he says it's okay, I'm not feeling sorry, because this is the way the external energy of the Lord Maya works. I've been traveling everywhere and I see how the external energy of the Maya works. It's all, after all, the Supreme Lord's desire, and accordingly things happen. And he also says that the Lord is such a great personality. In spite of being such a great personality, despite his being such a great person, the Lord is so kind and merciful to all the living entities. The Kurus, they were very devious. There were associates of the Kurus, like many kings were there, who were also devious, who were very proud of their position. And in that context, Vidura is telling Uddhava about the three types of pride, three causes for the pride. There are three reasons what can cause a great pride in the kings or in a person. Like a lot of wealth can bring a lot of pride in a person. Arrogance, ahankar, it can bring. Lot of education, that can also bring a lot of pride. Similarly, lot of following or a big population can also make a king very proud, and then he starts thinking of attacking the other smaller kings around, smaller kingdoms, because he wants to establish his supremacy over others because of his big population, strength, and because of his following. Now Krishna was a witness to all these things that were happening. Although Krishna was seeing all these things, he could have very easily killed them, right? You could have taken action against these people. But Krishna never did any of those things. He simply waited. That doesn't mean that he was excusing them for all their arrogance and all the atrocities that they were committing. No. The Lord was only waiting for an opportunity to bring all of them together in one place, and in one place he can do some mass cleansing activity. And that he did at Kurukshetra battlefield, and in one stroke, in a matter of 18 days, all the various kings on the sides of the Kurus and many of the kings on the sides of the Pandus, both of them were killed, and a large portion of the sinful people were eradicated from earth. Now we should understand here some of the speculators. They say that all these big wars take place, all the various famine or various epidemics take place to wipe out the big population on this earth. No, not really. Because the earth is overburdened with population. The earth is never overburdened with population as much as the earth feels overburdened by the sinful activities of people. After all, what are we? We are only about, human beings are only about 6.7 or 7 billion people on earth. That's not much. Earth is too big to, but apart from this 7 billion human beings, you have many other species also, like birds are there, aquatics are there, elephant, animals are there, reptiles are there, plants are there. That is a big, big number. Compared to that number, human beings is very small. But the earth is capable of taking all this burden. Big, big mountains are there. Big, big oceans are there. Mother Earth doesn't feel the burden of all these things as much as she feels the burden of sinful activities on earth. So when the sinful activities increase, that is the time Mother Earth feels the burden, and she feels like reducing the burden by wiping out the sinful people. That's the time she calls out for Brahma's help, the Devata's help, and they all go and pray to Krishna, ask him to come down to this earth. In fact, Krishna came down to this earth. Krishna and Balaram came only because of the request of Brahmaji. So, Vidura is explaining all these things to, he's just thinking aloud and expressing himself to Vidura. So, Vidura is expressing all these things to Uddhava. Sorry, the two names. Vidura is expressing all these things to Uddhava. And he is finally telling Uddhava also, oh please, chant the glories of the Lord. I am so eager to hear about the Supreme Lord. I want to hear more and more. So there is the last verse of the first chapter where he says, what we saw. Oh my friend, please therefore chant the glories of the Lord, who is meant to be glorified in the places of pilgrimage. He is unborn, and yet he appears by his costless mercy upon the surrendered rulers of all parts of the universe. Only for their interest did he appear in the family of his unalloyed devotees, the Yadus. So, he says, chant the holy names, chant the glories of this Lord, of Lord Krishna. Actually, there is no need for the Lord to appear on this earth, because he is so transcendental, he is in his transcendental abode with most of his devotees. The Nitya Siddhas are with him. They are all liberated souls. And he is having a gala time in the Supreme Abode. There is really no need for the Supreme Lord to come down to this earth. But still, he comes in order to, for two purposes he comes. One, he comes to give association to his devotees. He likes to be in the midst of his devotees and participate in devotees' activities, leelas, that he enjoys very much, in order to protect his devotees from the different atheistic people who create problems for these devotees. So he comes to protect his devotees and annihilate the miscreants. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam. So he comes for that purpose. That's number one. Second, he comes to perform different leelas, different pastimes he wants to perform. And through his pastimes, he attracts many jivas towards him. Not all jivas get attracted to him, unfortunately. But there are jivas who get attracted to by his pastimes. The devotees are already attracted to him. because of his pastimes, because of his greatness, because of his glories, because of his supreme position, they all get attracted and they are all towards him. But there are also people who are in a neutral position. The entire people can be classified into three categories. One, the favorable living entities favorable to devotional service. So they take up to devotional service. They are generally people who are interested in spirituality, in pious activities, like people who generally worship at home, people who visit the temples, who donate for some good cause of temples. They are the believers in God, let's put it like that. They already believe in God. And anything connected with the Lord, they are happy to perform. They are happy to participate. So they are already on the right side. But even them, amongst them, some may be there who have understood the position of the Lord and who pray to the Lord, who understand the right position of Krishna and pray to him. But there are also others who are really good living entities who also pray to different gods, who pray to different avatars, not knowing exactly the position of the Supreme Lord. But then if someone talks to them, someone makes them understand, they are open. They are open to hearing and understanding about the Lord. And if they are taught Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, they are all interested in knowing. And they want to learn about the secrets of Lord, or about the true position of the Supreme Lord. They want to know who is the Lord, who is the Supreme Lord. They understand that God is one. But who is that one? They want to know that. And yes, they are generally pious people who are interested in it. If they are told, they understand, they can apply their own mind, their own logic, and understand the position of the original God. There are also others, another category, who is very neutral. They are not devotees of anyone. They are also not non-devotees. They are also not non-devotees, correct. They are also not non-devotees, but then they are in neutral position. They are neither here nor there. They don't offend any devotees, nor do they side with the atheists. They are very neutral. When we talk to such neutral people, they are willing to listen and understand the truth. So such neutral persons also need to be attracted towards the Supreme Lord. So when the Lord performs all these various leelas, various pastimes, the people who are pious people, who are good people, but who are not knowledgeable or who have not been told what the truth is, they are willing to appreciate, they get attracted by the activities of the Lord and go towards the Lord. Similarly, the neutral people also, they also get attracted by the various activities of the Lord, by the pastimes of the Lord, and they also try to become the devotees of the Lord. And the third type of people, who are like atheists, come what may, they will not believe in God. They are totally anti-God. So such people, they are left alone. They are not the devotees of the Lord generally, they do not approach them. So here, Uddhava is explaining, Vidura is explaining, Krishna came and performed all these various activities just for these two reasons. One, to protect his devotees and annihilate all the miscreants. Number two, to perform various leelas on this earth by which he can attract several jivatmas towards him. Saying this, he says, "O Uddhava, please glorify the Lord. I am very keen to hear about the Lord. And please talk about the Lord. I want to know more and more. Because just hearing, simply hearing, is like nectar for the ears." So having said that, now we are getting into the second chapter. Where in the second chapter, Now when Uddhava hears this, Sukadeva Goswami is explaining this now. Sukadeva Goswami said, when the great devotee Uddhava was asked by Vidura to speak on the messages of the dearest Lord Krishna, Uddhava was unable to answer immediately due to excessive anxiety at the remembrance of the Lord. He was one who, even in his childhood, at the age of 5 years, was so absorbed in the service of Lord Krishna that when he was called by his mother for morning breakfast, he did not wish to have it. Uddhava thus served the Lord continually from childhood, and in his old age, that attitude of service never slackened. As soon as he was asked about the message of the Lord, he at once remembered all about him. For a moment he remained dead silent, and his body did not move. He became absorbed in the nectar of remembering the Lord's lotus feet in devotional ecstasy, and he appeared to be going increasingly deeper into that ecstasy. It was so observed by Vidura that Uddhava had all the transcendental bodily changes due to total ecstasy, and he was trying to wipe away tears of separation from his eyes. Thus Vidura could understand that Uddhava had completely assimilated extensive love for the Lord. The great devotee Uddhava soon came back from the abode of the Lord to the human plane, and wiping his eyes, he awakened his reminiscence of the past and spoke to Vidura in a pleasing mood. So now this description is about Uddhava. So we have to understand who Uddhava is. Very important personality. So Uddhava, when Uddhava was asked by Vidura to speak, actually Uddhava became dumbstruck. He could not open his mouth and he could not talk. Because as soon as Vidura started talking about Krishna, his greatness, and he wanted his glories to be chanted, Vidura immediately traveled from this plane to Goloka Vrindavana mentally. He was an associate of the Lord. He was a Nitya Siddha. He was also one of the associates of the Lord who had descended on this earth along with Krishna to perform various leelas. Now it had so happened that Uddhava, right from his childhood, even as a boy of 5 years old, he always used to play with the dolls of Krishna. There was a time when the children were given the dolls of Rama, Krishna, Durga Mata, the various gods, deities. The children used to be given. Those were the dolls of those days. Nowadays it is aeroplanes. Nowadays it is rifles that are being given, right, for the children to play. Rifles are being given. Some bullets are put in that small plastic bullet, or I don't know what it is. With that they shoot. They play with cars, aeroplanes. These are the toys given to the children nowadays. But in the earlier days, the children were given the dolls of, or the toys of various gods. And Uddhava, as a small child, used to play with all these dolls. Now, this is again the sign of a Nitya Siddha, or a eternally liberated soul, where although they are on this material plane, as a small child also they are transcendentally situated. Their thoughts are on Krishna only and his pastimes. This is natural. Bhagavad Gita says that when we perform our devotional service, Arjuna asks this question, I am performing this devotional service, afterwards in the middle I give it up for some reason, or I am not able to complete my devotional service and I leave this body. Then what happens? What happens to all the efforts that I have put in my devotional service? For that, Krishna answers that you get another opportunity in the next birth to come in the family of either the devotees of the Lord or in great Vaishnava families, or the great mercantile family, we can come. In the family of aristocratic people, you can take birth. And there, again, right from your childhood, you get an opportunity to do your devotional service. If one is born in a Vaishnava family, Vaishnava family means a family of devotees, a Brahminical family. What happens there? Right from childhood, the child is seeing his parents performing devotional service. Like in the case of Srila Prabhupada, he was born in a family where right from his childhood he used to see his parents performing devotional service so much, to such an extent that when Prabhupada was a small boy, really a small boy, not even 7, 8 years, something like that, he had organized a Ratha Yatra of all the dolls and various things taken. Small Ratha Yatra was performed, and along with his friends they performed that Ratha Yatra at that time, toy Ratha Yatra. Because that's what he has been seeing his parents and all going for Ratha Yatra, talking about it, great sages coming to their house. So Prabhupada was already a great devotee of the Lord. Nityasiddha he was, and he was given an opportunity to be born in a family of devotees. So his father was also guiding him very nicely in the devotional service right from his childhood. That was the same case with Uddhava also. Uddhava was also right from his childhood, he was always playing with these various toys of Krishna and Leela. He used to dress them nicely, he used to dress the toys nicely, he used to perform various Leelas of the Lord. It's all imagination. Children do that, children have their own imagination and play with his friends. All these things he was doing, that to such an extent he was so immersed that his mother had to virtually plead to Uddhava to come for his breakfast, lunch and all these things. Because Uddhava never felt hungry. He never was feeling that I want to eat this or that or something like that. He was so immersed, he was spiritually so much into it as a small child that his spiritual activities were giving him that full satisfaction, and his stomach was getting filled up with that itself, with that happiness. So his mother had to virtually call him to come and have his lunch or to breakfast. So he was one, even in his childhood, at the age of 5 years, was so absorbed in the service of Lord Krishna that when he was called by his mother for morning breakfast, he did not wish to have it. So that is then, and then in the next verse, Sukadeva Goswami is telling, Uddhava thus served the Lord continually from childhood, and in his old age, that attitude of service never slackened. As soon as he was asked about the message of the Lord, he at once remembered all about him. Now, this is the beauty of it. The Lord continually from childhood served the Lord, Uddhava thus served the Lord continually from childhood, and in his old age, that attitude of service never slackened. Now, this is the beauty of transcendental devotional service for the Lord. When we perform devotional service for the Lord, we never become tired. When we are in the material activities, for 6 days we work, or the 5 days we work, we want Saturday, Sunday off. Compulsorily we want. We want to take a break. Because by that time we become tired of the material activities. Is it not? So any office is there means, there should be a weekly off. Saturday, Sunday, even the companies, corporates want to give you a weekly off, because you take the off so that on Monday again you become fresh and again serve like a donkey. That's what they want. They want everybody to work hard. Everybody should work hard. Everybody should be should contribute to the company's growth. Everything should be done for the company. All your time you give for the company, because you are expected to work, because you are being paid salary. So sad. This life is there. The job is to support our life actually. Just give a thought to it. It's not the who is important. I am important, and for me I need support, and for me the support is I need support to live in this world, and the support I need is by way of money. And for that money I have to work in a company, and so that means the job is there to support my life. But nowadays it has become exactly the opposite. I am there to serve the company, I am there to support the company. Not the company is there to support my life. My life is there dedicated totally for the growth of the company. A company which has got no form, nothing is there. It's a abstract person. It's a legal entity as it is called. And I am working hard to support a legal entity. It keeps working and for its growth. And out of that, a few on the top, the promoters, they gain out of it. But others work like donkeys. And I'm always scared that I will lose this job. But this was not the case, I suppose, about, at least there are many senior people in this group. They will definitely vouch for what I say. In the earlier days, at least it was not so bad. People were working, but people were also leaving the office by 5:30, 6 o'clock and going home. They had some life, they had. But nowadays the youngsters have no life. Virtually, they are full, both husband and wife, they are working only for the company's sake. And everyone is mortally scared of losing a job. That's how the material life is. That's how they make one so tired. By evening, the man or the woman, whoever it is, they are so tired, still they continue to work on office job because they have got deadlines, they want to finish certain things. They don't have time to do their household jobs. They don't have time to give for their wife, to the husband. They don't have time to give to their children. They don't have time to give the time for social life, to meet their friends. Everybody is so busy working for the office. So that's why they need a break on Saturday, Sunday. So that they can meet everybody, they can spend some time with the children. So sad. We are supposed to spend our time with our children whenever the child wants to, just to spend time with the child. Is it not? Now even to spend time with the child, I have to allot a time for that. So sad it has become. Think over what I am saying. It is right or wrong. Our parents gave us all the time and we wanted. We never had this problem of, oh, my father is busy, my mother is busy, I can't approach them. It was never like that. Even some of the senior citizens who are here in this group, when you were working in your younger days, you could leave the office at 5:30, 6 o'clock. But nowadays, youngsters cannot live like that. They have to work hard, full day. And they have to take a compulsory break. 1 month, it's a compulsory off. Annual vacation they have to take and spend whatever they have earned. But in devotional service, there is no such problem. In devotional service you perform, there is no need for a break. You perform, you never become tired of devotional service. Do you ever feel tired of chanting the holy name of the Lord? Every day people chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Why do we feel tired of chanting this holy name of the Lord? Today I have chanted. Tomorrow again morning I am all fresh. I get up, I want to chant. That's how the devotees are. In this group, there are so many people who get up early in the morning and they want to chant. They don't feel that, oh God, again I have to chant. No, you don't feel. But for office, many people feel, oh God, again today I have to work for office. But when it is to do devotional service, you don't feel like that. You feel, wow, I have to do devotions. Let me do a nice devotional service for the day. Sometimes we feel sad that I am not able to do a proper devotional service. Sometimes I am getting disturbed. I am getting unnecessarily disturbed. My mind is disturbed. My mind is going here and there. Tomorrow I must definitely do a nice job of chanting. I will focus all my attention. I will do with all sincerity. I will chant the holy name of the Lord. I will do nice devotional service to please Krishna. Many times we get this feeling. We want to please Lord. We want to do nice devotional service. 7 by 365. Or rather, all the 365 days. All the 365 days. I feel like doing devotional service. I never feel tired. There's a difference between material activity and the spiritual activity. Plus, in the material activity, there's an artificial age for retirement. Once you become 60, you have become an old man, you should retire now. You have become a senior citizen. You may be physically fit, but still, in the eyes of so-called decision makers, well, sorry, you are old, you are reached the senior citizen's age, you have to give the place to some youngster to take up, so that the youngster can work really like a bull and contribute more for the company. Of course, there are exceptions, people who work even after 60. But I'm talking of the mass, I'm talking of the majority. People are expected to retire at 60, and afterwards they are expected to retire because they have become old, and secondly, their efficiency has come down in the eyes of others. You may be good still, in your own eyes you may be good, but still you are expected to not work, but to sit at home or do something else as you please. But in devotional service there is no such retirement. And devotees don't want retirement. And devotees do not expect any retirement also. Because it is the soul with super soul. Simply a connection between Atma and Paramatma. Simply my relationship with my father. Who likes to break this relationship with the father? Especially a father like Krishna, who is the, what do you call that? Who is such a great personality, such a supreme person, but in spite of that being so merciful and so kind to every living entity. They are also insignificant before the Supreme Lord, is it not? What is he? He is a Jagatpati. He has got all the opulences under his control. He has got everything with him. What you want to thought or think of? Are you talking of beauty? He is the most beautiful person. Are you talking of wealth? He is the wealthiest person. Are you talking of power? He is the most powerful person. Are you talking of knowledge? He is the most knowledgeable person. What do you want? He has got everything. He is all beautiful, all power, all wealth, all knowledge. Everything he has got. Still, and what do I have compared to him? I am so insignificant. There are 6 opulences. He is full of all the 6 opulences. Compared to him, I am so insignificant. But the greatness is, although he is so great, still he is so merciful and so kind to me that he is taking care of my life so nicely, beautifully in this world. Devotees realize it, devotees appreciate it, and they don't feel like breaking this relationship, which is so great relationship, such a pure, pavitram it is, this relationship. They like to maintain this relationship. They want to do a lot of seva for the Lord. They want to simply serve the Lord without expecting anything in return, because simply this service itself brings such a joy to the heart. Simply chanting the holy name of the Lord brings so much of joy to the heart. Simply doing Vaishnava Seva brings so much of joy to the heart. Simply doing Archa Vigraha brings a lot of joy. Simply looking at the face of the Lord with a small smile, the corner of his lips, that brings joy to us. By doing Shringar to the Lord, maybe it's a deity only, made of stone or wood or whatever, picture. Still that brings joy to our heart. Lighting the lamp daily for the Lord, calling out his name, offering him some food, all these things bring joy to us. Not that the Lord needs all these things. He is self-sufficient. But still when we do these things, it brings joy to us. So there is no question of any weekly off. There is no question of retirement from devotional service. Oh, I have done devotional service for so many years. Now let me take a break and let me sit. We never feel like that. No devotee feels like that. On the contrary, as he grows older and older, he wants to do better and better devotional service for the Lord, simply because he gets more and more joy. In fact, I have seen some of the devotees of the Lord who have been working, and when they are when they reach the 60, 65 years old, when they have retired from job, they are very, very happy to have retired. They have retired from the job. Now I can dedicate my life fully for my devotional service. I have seen many devotees in ISKCON and outside also who feel that now I am so free, I can fully focus on the Lord. And they sit and read a lot of Srimad Bhagavatam. And they read Chaitanya Charitamrita, they read Bhagavad Gita, they try to understand more about the Lord. They want to do Vaishnava Seva. They do all these things. They want to go on a pilgrimage, pay a lot of, pay a lot of respects to the devotees based in these pilgrimage centers and learn from them. This is the difference between material activity and spiritual activity. Now here coming to this, it explains Uddhava had already become old. Right from his childhood he was doing devotional service. He was immersed in the devotion to the Lord. Uddhava thus served the Lord continually from childhood. And in his old age, that attitude of service never slackened. So, when he was asked about the message of the Lord, automatically he remembered everything about the Lord, right from his childhood. And when he remembered it, so what happened? He became totally dead silent. He did not know how to react. Because the entire activities of the Supreme Lord, the various leelas of the Lord, the face of the Lord, the association of the Lord, everything just came before him. And he could see, and that was really mesmerized him, and he was simply standing quiet, simply standing silent, and his body did not move. He became absorbed in the nectar of remembering the Lord's lotus feet in devotional ecstasy, and he appeared to be going increasingly deeper into that ecstasy. He got into that ecstasy of remembering. Now you see, this, it was just like Uddhava has been woken up from his slumber. And he remembered about the Lord, various things. And he became ecstatic. Now ecstasy is displayed by the devotees in different ways. There are 8 types of ecstasy, ecstatic situations. When one is in devotional ecstasy, certain things happen at that time. Like one starts, the tears start flowing from the eyes, they start crying. One. Second, the body starts perspiring. That happens. Third, another symptom could be where the entire body starts shivering because of this, because of the ecstatic feeling. There's a third symptom that can also happen. Another symptom could be where the throat becomes parched and voice doesn't come out and the throat gets choked. That's another symptom that they display. Another symptom is they become totally restless. They don't know what is happening. Then the heartbeat, it becomes very, very heavy, and it's just because of the feeling about the Lord, the heart is starting. Then the hairs stand on the edge. The hairs, all the hair on the body, it stands on the end. And finally, another ecstasy, 8th ecstasy is fainting. They faint. Now all these ecstatic symptoms were displayed by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, all these things get explained, all the 8 ecstatic symptoms. Now here, Uddhava, because of this, he became so silent, everything became his throat and all, he just did not know how to react. He was, he could remember the lotus feet of the Lord, and his mind had just become dumbstruck. He was just standing for a moment. He did not know how to react. And then afterwards, what happened in this ecstasy? Afterwards, it was so observed by Vidura that Uddhava had all the transcendental bodily changes due to total ecstasy. and he was trying to wipe away the tears of separation from his eyes. Thus, Vidura could understand that Uddhava had completely assimilated extensive love for the Lord. Thus, Vidura could understand that Uddhava had completely assimilated extensive love for the Lord. Now, one of the ecstatic symptoms, as we saw now, is tears flowing from the Lord. Sometimes we see the Lord and the eyes get filled up with tears. It's not that we are crying to the Lord for asking for something. No, it's not like that. In fact, we should never cry to the Lord asking, because He takes care of so nicely, is it not? It is our when the material miseries or some suffering comes, sometimes we go and cry to the Lord. Yeah, okay, who else to go to? So sometimes we go to the Lord and cry, putting our situation, asking for some solution. The Lord definitely reciprocates, and He also gives a solution to our problem. We don't even realize that the Lord has reciprocated many times. But this ecstatic crying is out of separation from the Lord. This ecstatic symptom of crying is that of separation from the Lord, and feeling sad that somehow or the other I have to get back to you, I have to remember you, I have to serve you, I have to associate myself with you. My link with you should be re-established. That is the thing. Now when we are talking of this, here it's being said, it was so observed by Vidura that Uddhava had all the transcendental bodily changes due to total ecstasy, and he was trying to wipe away tears of separation from his eyes. Thus, Vidura could understand that Uddhava had completely assimilated extensive love for the Lord. So he is talking of the topmost level of ecstasy. Now we see in devotional service there are three stages. Broadly, there are three stages. The first stage is there where we try to follow the regulative principles of devotional service. Like we do the basic activities of chanting the holy name of the Lord, trying to read Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita or Chaitanya Charitamrita. We read these books. So one is we try to associate with Nama Rupa of the Lord. Nama Rupa means what? The Lord has come in the form of Nama Rupa in Kali Yuga, is it not? Namasmaran, that's why we say we do that. Namasmaran means nothing but associating with the Nama Rupa of the Lord. The Lord is Nama Avatar here in Kali Yuga. So He comes in the form of Nama Avatar. We chant the holy name of the Lord and associate with that Nama Avatar of the Lord. Associating with Lord will always bring us happiness. That's that. Second is Grantha Avatar. Grantha Avatar is all these various books. Grantha, Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavad Puran. It is called Bhagavad Puran. These are all Grantha Avatar. Reading Grantha Avatar daily, we are again associating with the Lord. These are all basic. These are the regulative principles and the start of the devotional service. Third is Archa Vigraha, doing devotional service, having the deity of the Lord at home, daily worshipping the Lord, offering the Lord some food, serving the Lord, decorating the Lord, garlanding the Lord, showing the agarbatti, dhupa, the lamp, all these things we show to the Lord. They have got the deities which are made of metal or marble. We can also give abhisheka to the Lord. We can give bath to the Lord. Many people do that. They feel that, oh, Lord is my child, I have to give him a bath. Regular bath I have to give him. Don't we give a bath to our child? Even if the child cries, we will take him into the bathroom and give him a bath. Is it not? As a baby, as a small boy or a girl. Like that, many people give a bath to the Lord. That is called abhishekam. So they do that abhishekam for the Lord. That is also done. So Archa Vigraha is done. Then comes Vaishnava Seva. Vaishnava Seva is serving the devotees of the Lord in many ways. The devotees have got many objectives of spreading the message of Lord. Like Prabhupada has said, during this month of December, this is Gita Jayanti, Gita Marathon time. In the month of December, Bhagavad Gita was given to Arjuna by Krishna. So Prabhupada said, this is a month when all the devotees of ISKCON must distribute this book of Bhagavad Gita. They should try to sell it to others or give it out as gift to many people, so that all these people can take up to the devotional service of the Lord. So that they can get some Grantha Avatar, they can bring some good book to their house. Bringing Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam into the house itself brings auspiciousness to the house. And this is an opportunity to enlighten people who are not aware of it and give them a gift or something like that and enable them to bring the Grantha Avatar into their house. So Prabhupada, what he had, anything personal in this? No. All the devotees, their desire is only to spread the message of Krishna. And that's why he wanted to give these books to everyone. So the point is here, when we try to distribute books, Prabhupada has said, let us not think that Prabhupada has left this planet and gone and so is gone like any other living entity. No, the devotees of the Lord never die. They are always alive. And even from the spiritual world, just like Krishna is observing us, like that, Srila Prabhupada is also observing his devotees and his disciples and his grand disciples and great grand disciples. They will be observing all the acharyas in the parampara. They all observe what the grand disciples are doing. All the disciples in the parampara are doing. They all observe. And this is an opportunity for us to please all such great Vaishnavas in the parampara. And when the Vaishnavas are pleased, automatically Krishna is pleased. These are the secrets of progress in devotional service. So when we serve these Vaishnavas by doing what they like, what they will be pleased with, automatically Krishna will also get pleased with us. So if we distribute Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam or Chaitanya Charitamrita or Krishna books to many people, just imagine how much we are pleasing the Vaishnavas. And Vaishnava Seva is one of the ways and means of progressing in devotional service. So Vaishnava Seva is another one. And the fifth is visiting pilgrimage centers and doing devotional service. So 5 methods by which we can progress in our devotional service. One is Namasmaran, that is serving the Lord. By chanting the holy name of the Lord, we associate with Namavatar. Second, by reading the Granthas, we are associating with Grantavatar. Third, Archa Vigraha, by doing puja and everything at home, we associate with the Lord. Fourth is by doing Vaishnava Seva. And the fifth is visiting pilgrimage places. So these are 5 ways by which we can make progress in our devotional service. Apart from Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, the 9 types of devotional service. So these are the basic 9 types of devotional service and all we do. Thereby we try to make progress in our devotional service. So this is the first stage of devotional service. Then from this first stage, when we keep doing all these types of devotional service, we enter the second stage of devotional service, where we try to assimilate and realize whatever we have heard and studied. The whole thing has to get absorbed in us, is it not? We should be able to absorb whatever we have learned and put it into practice. That is the second stage of devotional service. Many times the first stage we do it, but when we are coming into the second stage, it doesn't mean that we give up the first stage. No. The first stage is still practiced. It is not like our school education and college education. I have gone into the college means I have forgotten my school. So some people think that I have started reading Srimad Bhagavatam, so I will not touch Bhagavad Gita because I have already finished it. No, it is not like that. Even if you have completely mastered everything, still Bhagavad Gita is the base. We have to keep reading Bhagavad Gita regularly and teach others what we have learned. Yare dekho tare ko ho Krishna Upadesha. To the extent I have understood Bhagavad Gita, I must teach to others. To the extent I am understanding Srimad Bhagavatam, I must teach to others. I may not have understood completely. Doesn't matter. But I have understood it correctly. That is very important. So whatever I have understood, whatever I have learned, I must try to teach to others. So second stage is real assimilation and realization. I assimilate whatever I have learned. There are different places in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, different things are explained. I have to try to correlate and see what is what and get the perfect understanding of the subject matter, of the spiritual subject matter. Perfect understanding of Krishna. Although I can never get a perfect understanding of Krishna, but to the extent possible I must understand. Wherever I don't understand, I will have to ask my seniors and try to understand from them. That I should do that. And third comes pure love for Krishna. Pure love for Krishna is the stage where the different symptoms of ecstasy are displayed. We saw, no? 8 symptoms of ecstasy. If you have forgotten, I will repeat again. The tears, the eyes, the tears come from the eyes. Second, there is the perspiration, heavy perspiration takes place, heavy heartbeats take place. Then you have got this restlessness is coming. Then the throat gets choked. It gets parched. That's there. Then afterwards, you have got the restlessness is there. Did I say restlessness? Yeah, then shivering of the body takes place. Then the hair stand on the edge. Then fainting. These are the 8 symptoms of ecstasy. One may exhibit one or many of the ecstasies will get displayed when they reach that high level of devotion for the Lord, where that Krishna Prema comes in. That, when the Krishna Prema comes, there's the highest level of devotion. These symptoms are mostly displayed by Nitya Siddhas, those who are totally in the liberated stage, and when they feel the separation from the Lord, all these ecstasies come out because they are remembering everything of the Lord, and these ecstasies get displayed for them. So he says that Vidura could see that Uddhava was displaying this and all the transcendental body changes due to the total ecstasy, and he was trying to wipe away tears of separation from his eyes. Thus Vidura could understand that Uddhava had completely assimilated extensive love for the Lord. He had already gone to the third stage of Krishna service. Then afterwards what happened? The great devotee Uddhava soon came back from the abode of the Lord to the human plane, and wiping his ears, he awakened his reminiscence of the past and spoke to Vidura in a pleasing mood. Now Vidura realized he was in the transcendental abode, right? Now he comes down to this material world. Physically he is still in the material world, but mentally he had traveled to the transcendental abode, and from there he comes down to this material world, and he's slowly wiping his tears, and he is trying to recall that what it is, and then he's going to talk to Vidura about Krishna. Now here in the purport, Prabhupada is beautifully describing from Chaitanya Charitamrita something. I will just read that part, which is very interesting and very important for all of us to know. So here he says, a living entity can live either on the material plane or in the transcendental abode of the Lord in accordance with his existential condition. The conditional changes of the living entity are explained in the Chaitanya Charitamrita in the instructions given to Srila Rupa Goswami by Lord Sri Chaitanya. The living entities all over the universes are enjoying the effects of the respective fruitive results of their own work, life after life. Out of all of them, some may be influenced by the association of pure devotees and thus get the chance to execute devotional service by attainment of taste. This taste is the seed of devotional service. So that is very important. No? Once we get an opportunity to, either by our Ajnata Sukriti, we would have done some past good deeds by which we get this association, this opportunity to do good devotional service for the Lord. Then what happens is some ruchi develops in us for doing devotional service for the Lord. This ruchi is compared to a seed. This taste is the seed of devotional service. And one who is fortunate enough to have received such a seed is advised to sow it in the core of his heart. As one cultivates a seed by pouring water to fructify it, the seed of devotional service sown in the heart of the devotee may be cultured by pouring water in the form of hearing and chanting of the holy name and pastimes of the Lord. The creeper of devotional service, so nourished, gradually grows, and the devotee, acting as a gardener, goes on pouring the water of constant hearing and chanting. The creeper of devotional service gradually grows so high that it passes through the entire material universe and enters into the spiritual sky, growing still higher and higher until it reaches the planet Goloka Vrindavana. The devotee gardener is in touch with the abode of the Lord even from the material plane by dint of performing devotional service to the Lord simply by hearing and chanting. As a creeper takes shelter of another stronger tree, similarly the creeper of devotional service, nourished by the devotee, takes shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord and thus becomes fixed. When the creeper is fixed, then the fruit of the creeper comes into existence and the gardener who nourished it is able to enjoy this fruit of love and his life becomes successful. That Uddhava attained this stage is evident from his dealings. He could simultaneously reach the supreme planet and still appear in this world. So this creeper comparison is so beautiful for us. The taste ruchi has come for doing devotional service. We have to cultivate it. It's like a creeper. It's a very, why it is called a creeper? Because a creeper is so tender. Let's put it like that. The creeper is so tender. The creeper can break at any time. The creeper, unless it is supported, it will fail. It will die. Similarly, our devotional service is also very tender. We have to be extremely careful while doing devotional service. Not to commit any Vaishnava aparadha or Nama aparadha. We have to be extremely careful about it. So when we start nourish, how do we nourish that seed? We do watering, is it not, for the plant. So here also we water this seed of devotional service. How do we water the seed of devotional service? By chanting and by hearing. Shravanam and Kirtanam. Vishnu Smaranam. This is the watering for the seed, for the devotional creeper. At the same time, we have to remember that when a creeper is growing, there are lots of weeds that grow around the creeper. You see a lot of weeds coming up. Even in our devotional service when we do, a lot of weeds start cropping up. Weeds in the form of pride, arrogance, ego, hatred, all these things start coming. We have to be extremely careful about these weeds because these weeds can kill the creeper. Similarly, these weeds of greed, anger, lust, etc., they can kill the creeper of devotional service. But as we keep on watering this devotional creeper, at the same time taking care of the weeds also, then what happens is the creeper starts slowly growing. The heart gets purified. And in a pure state, purified means the place becomes fertile for the devotional creeper to grow more and more strongly. And it grows. It's an unseen creeper, devotional service. This creeper grows, it penetrates through the material sky. Gradually it reaches the spiritual sky. And after reaching the spiritual sky, it rests on the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord in Goloka Vrindavana. Just like a creeper, normal creeper in this world, it needs the support of a strong tree. It winds around the tree and it grows up and up. It goes up and up. So it needs some support. Like that, the support for this devotional creeper, finally, it gets in the form of the lotus feet of the Lord. And once it touches the lotus feet of the Lord, the creeper is so safe. It starts giving out the fruits of labor. It starts giving out the fruits to the gardener. Who is the gardener? The devotee who is performing this chanting and hearing, etc. He is the gardener. We are all gardeners of our devotional creeper. And it gives us the fruit in the form of loving devotion for the Supreme Lord. That is ultimate. That is the sweetest fruit one can expect. And one can sow. Although we may be living on this material world, still we get an opportunity to associate with the Supreme Lord. That's what Uddhava was on that. It is possible for us also, all of us also, to do it. So today we could talk only on Uddhava Charitra. Not Uddhava Charitra. We could talk only on Uddhava. The greatness of Uddhava we talked today. So tomorrow onwards we will see what Uddhava is speaking. So that we'll take it up. So with this I will stop the class for the day. Thank you very much to all of you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam Granth Raj ki